Shabbat Shalom, saints, and welcome back to Wakefulness Theology. My name is Messenger Paula, and today I'm going to tell you the parable of the Word made flesh. And this you can find in John 1, verse 14. It is a parable that I woke up with. One morning I woke up and I had it in my mind. I had thought about it a little bit in the past, but I couldn't get all the pieces together. And I believe it was the day of my birthday or the week of my birthday this year, 2018. I just woke up and whoop, there it was. So I'm going to share that with you today. Enjoy. The Word Made Flesh parable. Once upon a time, there was a computer programmer, and he created a computer video game like the movie Avatar. In this game, you can enter a stasis chamber and virtually enter the video game to play as an avatar. The master computer programmer was a genius, and he knew that one day there could be a problem where people would forget themselves or get lost in the game. So, to avoid this potential problem, the master computer programmer, or TMP for short, created a fail-safe plan. So, while programming the game, he made the game look as if it were a drawing of a house with 4 windows, a door, a sun, a tree, 3 birds, blue sky, and some grass. After that, he designed everything in the computer game to look just like the picture he programmed into the computer code. He did this intentionally so that the players would constantly be reminded that it is just a computer simulation. The players all knew this information before they entered the game. To help you imagine, it's very much like the Matrix movie concept. The visual design of the game is identical to the visual image of the code. Now, there was an evil guy who found out about this great new video game. He got jealous and decided to steal it. One night, the evil guy, got some friends together. They entered the game as avatars and hijacked the game from the inside, claiming ownership and declaring that they were the true creators. Some people that worked for TMP, the master programmer, decided to go in after the thieves. But what they didn't know was that when the thieves entered the video game, they corrupted it like a virus. And all those who entered after that point would be stuck in the game forever. This was no surprise to TMP. He knew it would happen. Even though the thieves thought they got one over on him, he was always in control. TMP just let it play out. So, over time, the players in the game forgot who they really were and started believing that the video game was real. This was part of the game's programming. Players were to temporarily be in suspended disbelief, but now, because of the virus, the amnesia was permanent. So, because of their betrayal, TMP unplugged the bodies of the thieves that were still in stasis. So their bodies eventually died in the real world, but their consciousness lived on in the game. They were no longer alive, but they didn't know that they were already dead, like the ghost in Pac-Man. On the other hand, TMP preserved the bodies of his workers so that they could return to the real world at the appropriate time. TMP still allowed his workers to enter the game as soldier spies. When the spies entered the game, they lost their memories as well, but TMP had a secret code to reactivate them back to full memory while they were in the game, whenever he chose to do so. This way, his spies could help to remind the others who they really were. TMP's soldiers would enter the game as babies born to the players so that no one would be suspicious. Over time, the video game went from being fun to being torture. The evil rulers and thieves became tyrants and used and abused everyone. Because they were no longer alive in the real world, the thieves and the rulers remembered more than the other players, and they constantly oppressed the players to keep them from remembering the truth. They did this by keeping them busy on futile things, anything and everything to keep them from remembering who they were. They also dumbed the players down, poisoned them, and killed anyone who threatened the rulers. But remember, TMP had a fail-safe plan in place long before he created the game. At this point, he was secretly and quietly putting his soldier spies into place to prepare the holographic virtual reality computer game for his arrival. Now see, TMP had a lot of secret technology that the evil guy knew nothing about. The avatars the thieves stole were only the beta prototypes. In secret, he already had a much better way to enter the video game so that one could enter it just as they were in real life without any extra equipment necessary. To help your imagination, we could imagine a chip technology instead of an avatar stasis chamber. But please note to the listener, chip technology is bad. Don't put any of that into your body. This is just a parable to help you imagine, but always remember that putting any kind of technology in your body will disconnect you from the Most High Father. So back to the story. So TMP entered the game in an avatar as a baby to two of his spies. As he grew up, he lived by the pattern in the code. He did this because he knew it was too dangerous to rip people's minds out of the game violently. If he carelessly told them the truth before they were ready, the shock could kill them in the real world or do serious damage to them. He knew that the revealing would have to be done slowly and delicately to protect the players. So he lived his whole life by the computer code. Showing is much more efficient than telling. For example, he lived in a house with 4 windows and a door, a sun, a tree, 3 birds, blue sky, and some grass. He was constantly climbing the tree, rolling and playing in the grass, pointing out the sun and the clouds. Everything he did and said pointed to the computer program. He consistently said, "I was born in a house with 4 windows and a door. I climbed a tree. I rolled in the grass. Do as I do." But the people didn't get his hints or understand what he was saying. Throughout his entire avatar life, his actions, his words, and everything surrounding him was to remind his workers that it is a computer video game. When the evil guys saw what TMP was doing, they immediately had him arrested. The thieves were quite aware of who he was and what he was doing. The thieves constantly said that TMP was trying to steal what was rightfully theirs. As soon as he could, the evil guy put TMP to death in the worst possible manner. This was done to dissuade any of TMP's followers from pursuing the truth. With TMP's death, the thieves thought they had won and that they would remain as gods and rulers forever. Now, because the evil thieves were already dead in the real world, they had more power in the video game than the other players. The rulers had supernatural powers in the video game. Once again, to help your imagination, you can think of the Smith in the Matrix movies. So, when TMP's avatar was killed, he didn't reset like most other players. Instead, after he died, the evil rulers could see the real him as if he were in real life, outside of his avatar, and this startled them. They were confused. Remember, TMP had secret technology that they didn't know about. TMP was able to be in the game without his avatar. The thieves marveled. They had never seen anything like it before. They became greatly frightened and they ran away to hide. After he conquered the thieves in the virtual underworld, he returned to the video game as himself, but without his avatar. He stood on high and said, "Behold, I was born in a house with 4 windows and a door. I climbed a tree, I rolled in the grass, I talked to 3 birds. Do as I do and you will be free." Then he ascended up through the virtual sky, left the game and returned to real life. Everyone marveled and scratched their head, but his soldier spies had already been activated and understood the truth. After they were activated, they went around the video game, preaching like TMP did. They said, "He was born in a house with 4 windows and a door. There was a tree. There was a tree and grass and a blue sky with sun. He climbed the tree, he talked with the birds, he played in the grass." His followers would preach that for thousands of years, and each disciple would activate another player. Of course, 7,000 years in the video game is only 7 days in the real world. When people finally understood the message of TMP, they were freed from the video game and simply woke up in their avatar stasis chamber, safe and sound in the real world. Just like any video game, a player could keep playing the game as long as their real body in the real world was still living. But on the other hand, the thieves use the energy of the players to stay alive in the game like vampires. Because remember, the thieves no longer had their own bodies. So they had to steal the energy from the players who were actually still alive. So the players had become their food. Again, you can use the Matrix movie as an example. But sometimes the lost players would freely choose to join the evil thieves. Usually they did this because the thieves would offer them power, wealth, and eternal life, so mind-controlled players would fall for the dupe over and over again. When a player went over to the dark side, TMP would unplug their stasis chambers so that they would be trapped in the game forever. This was not done out of spite. It deeply hurts TMP and he hates losing a player, but he has to unplug them because of free will. Once a player chooses to follow the thieves, that means that they choose to stay in the game to be a ruler. This was their choice, through free will to do so. Unlike the thieves, TMP is not a tyrant. As time went on, TMP continued to help the players to remember who they were from outside the game. One day, TMP decided the time had arrived for the awakening. He had been slowly preparing and gently training the players from outside the game. He sent in his last batch of spies who had special training and specific instructions. Each soldier had a special program that would allow them to forge a calculated attack against the enemy at a specific time. But because this code was hidden and embedded inside the players' avatars, no one would be able to detect it until it was too late. From the real-world perspective, TMP had a huge advantage over the thieves. He could see everything and be everywhere all the time. So over time, the technology in the video game improved a great deal. And finally, the players in the game had access to information that they didn't have before. This is because in the real world, TMP put the computer video game online. So now the players in the game were instantly enlightened with tons of information that they didn't have before. So just imagine, it's like if the computer game players got their own computers inside the virtual reality. With this new download of information about how computers work, all of a sudden many of the players understood, and those who were programmed by TMP were activated back into full remembrance. They got it. They say, "Oh, all this time when he said he was born in a house with 4 windows and a door, there was a tree and grass and a blue sky with sun. He climbed the tree, he talked with the birds, he played in the grass. All this time he was trying to remind us that we are in a virtual reality simulation." Oh, he was describing the way the program looks. We remember our training now so that we wouldn't get lost. We understand. Now they remembered that the digital code in the computer program that makes up their reality looks like a house and trees. "Oh, wait a minute," they said. "This isn't my body. This is an avatar. Wait a minute. I remember this isn't real. I'm stuck in an artificially intelligent computer simulation matrix." As soon as they truly believed it and said it aloud, they floated up and out of the game and woke up in their real bodies in the real world. So the ones who didn't remember immediately, TMP gave them more time to remember. Eventually, he returned to the game himself, not as an avatar, but how he is in real life. He went in and brought out the remaining players. After everyone was rescued, TMP destroyed the game. As I mentioned earlier, the game was only a prototype meant to train, test, and mature his workers and get rid of any kinks. The virus had accomplished what it was meant to do and was no longer needed. So he threw the video game into the fire. He then booted up his secret program that had always been perfect from the beginning. So the moral of the story is that because numbers are letters and letters are numbers, they are actually a part of the living program that creates and underlines our reality, which is a virtual matrix. These numbers and letters are living and conscious. Matrix means the womb. It refers to the womb that we are born into, like a stasis chamber. The program that makes up the universe is Pi. Pi is the representation of the name of Yahuwah. We can see that in Exodus 3, verse 14. 3.14 is Pi. They are the holy living letters that make up everything in existence, the substance of Yahuwah, the Word. So when Yahushua came here as God in this virtual reality and died, he was no longer in an avatar. He was the Word as he was from the beginning in John 1:1. He appeared as he was in heaven, but on earth. He made the spirit physical. He appeared as the Word or the program itself. Once again, the Word is the substance of all creation and the living code of life represented as letters and numbers. So he made the Word, which is himself, flesh. His true flesh in this world. He is the Word made manifested. He is the Word manifested. He is the program. He is the programmer. When you understand this, you too will be set free. Holy is Yahushua. All praise, glory, and honor to the Most High Father in his holy name. In Yeshua Hamashiach's holy name. Be blessed, saints. Shalom.